Welcome back. News Talk 830 WCCO. I'm Rena Sargentopoulos, filling in from 9 to noon today on this great station. And have you ever just had any problems recalling memories or forgetting people's names or just tiny things that don't necessarily mean that you're, having some sort of brain issue? Like, I'm not talking about dementia or some serious issues that people get as they age. Just brain issues as a young person. Dave, do you have any struggles with that?
I remember everything that's not important.
Well, there you go.
Yes. If you tell me your name and I'm just meeting you for the first time,
you will not remember it.
It's gone in 20 minutes.
I met someone yesterday and I poked my head and said his name 3 or 4 times. And so his name's James. And I remember it now because I poked my head and said it 3 times. But here's the deal. I remember nothing, like absolutely nothing. And I will give you one short example. When Louis Anderson died, the station, I work over at Care 11, and the station said to me, okay, you're going to do his obit today. Like, that's what your story is today. Okay, fine. And then Care tweets out this tweet, Louis Anderson stopped by the Care 11 studios a few years ago, check out his interview. And I was like, hey, I'm doing his obit today. I should probably see what he said when he came to Care 11 a few weeks ago or a few years ago. I click on it. It was me. I was the one doing the interview. It was a 7-minute interview with Louis Anderson, and I don't remember a single moment of it.
Really?
It was like having an out-of-body experience, watching yourself do something, interviewing someone famous for 7 minutes, and I don't have any memory of it.
Wow.
That's when I said to myself, you got some problems. So then I said to myself, hey, you're going to be on a radio show. Why not get some free advice from somebody? I'm kidding. But I feel like this is something that we can all relate to, right? You're either forgetful about things like you said. You remember things that aren't important. I don't remember anything at all. And I think our listeners out there are probably, experiencing some level of that. My mom can't remember everyone's name, but she kind of remembers it. So if your name is like, her name's Beverly, she would call you, like Brenda instead. It's just one of those things, right? So our next guest is going to help us figure this out. All right, Leigh Richardson is the founder and clinical director of the Brain Performance Center. Leigh, thanks so much for being here today.
Well, thanks for having me.
Am I normal?
Yes, you are. You are totally normal.
Well, I mean, for other reasons I might not be, but for this reason you're saying I am normal.
For this reason you are, because, memory is a whole brain function. And a lot of memory has to do with how that memory gets encoded in the first place. I mean, if you're not very aware or alert when you had an experience, then the memory probably won't be as vivid as it would have been otherwise. But how did you sleep the night before? How's your nutritional balance? Have you started a new medication? There's all kinds of things that can impact the way that those memories are encoded.
And so it's not necessarily, I'd like to think that I'm present in the moment mostly, but maybe that's not the case. But for everybody, I assume their brains function mostly the same, but slightly differently, right? So why someone can have vivid recall of their childhood memories or be really good at remembering someone else's name where other people are not. How does that differ between people other than just, hey, what did you eat last night and how did you sleep?
Well, I think it depends on, for some people, it is very important for them to remember names, and they'll come up with their own little coding strategies that they'll use to be sure that they remember names. For other people, it's just not that important. They don't mind saying, gee, I'm so sorry, I don't remember your name. Can you tell me again? And so I think that plays into it, because you can, if you want to increase your memories, there are things that you can do that can help that. I mean, sometimes, like, if you don't remember your childhood and you want to remember more of that, look at some pictures, go through some, the old videos, have conversations with other family members about it, because there are things that, you can do that will prompt some of those memories. Memories are fragile. They're very susceptible to change. And the more that you recall them, the stronger they get. But if you haven't thought about something in 2 or 3 years, there's a good chance it may be a little difficult to recall what actually happened.
Is there a point, or is there some level that you should take it more serious and maybe go talk to somebody about it, try to get some help?
Well, I think when it's causing interruptions in your daily life, when, it really is creating problems for you, and you feel like that it's impacting, those problems are impacting your mood and your state, how stable you are, then it is time to stop and look at it, because, a lot of times we can think that cognitively we're just on the decline, and maybe we are. Maybe, nutritionally we're deficit. Maybe we're not getting the right amount of sleep. Those are your two basic things for brain health. But, the brain's always wiring and firing. And it's so interesting because we can create neuroplasticity all the way through adulthood. Neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to change. So when you feel like that brain is stuck and the brain doesn't have the ability to change, that's when I would think that it might be time to just seek counsel on it.
When you say all the way into adulthood, I mean, is there some point where we stop losing that function and it starts to go the other way? The decline starts?
No. I mean, it's so interesting to me. At the Brain Performance Center, we do a lot of neurofeedback and neuromodulation. And there are clinicians that will do neurofeedback and neuromodulation on stroke patients that are unconscious because they believe they can continue to stimulate that brain. I have not done it, but I have read about people that have. So there's no point in time, and when you cannot stop creating change in the brain, as long as you got to get oxygen in the brain. The brain's got to be functioning.
What can we do? Are there any tips or tricks? Like I trick myself into thinking like playing games like Wordle, or when you see on these apps that tell you like these are brain games and they're going to help your brain, get better or be more higher functioning. Do any of those really work?
Well, it's exercise for the brain, and the more you exercise, the better you're keeping the brain in shape. Now, are those games going to change your brain? Probably not. More and more research is showing, it's an exercise. And the more you exercise the brain, the more you use those neural pathways, the stronger they are. The brain has a philosophy, use it or lose it. So if you're not using those neural pathways, they can shut down.
Are there any suggestions you have?
Well, I think, just do things differently. If you always brush your teeth with your right hand, brush your teeth with your left hand. Try to learn something new. They say learn a new language, but that just overwhelms me, the thought of that. So,
no doubt.
But I am wrapping up a PhD, and that's certainly that's a new learning experience. So anytime you're learning, you're creating good change in the brain. Everything's rewiring and connecting differently. So even on if you like to cook, try cooking a different type of food. Maybe you've never cooked Thai food. So just any new learning experiences that you can bring to the brain will keep that brain stronger.
I love that. That is a great idea. Although I've envisioned myself trying to do anything with my left hand, and I just don't see that going well. I'll start with the toothbrush, not scissors. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Awesome. Leigh Richardson from there we go. The Brain Performance Center. Leigh Richardson from the Brain Performance. Speaking of brains, Leigh, this just showed itself how very much I need this help. So we really appreciate you calling us on the John Schuster Coldwell Banker Hotline.